is Grace from Global College. 안녕하세요. 잘 지내셨나요? Welcome back to Global College Interpretation. Now we're at the advanced level 1 and 2. So for this interpretation program, for the ITT part, it's always going to be videos 1 and video 2. The video 1 will always be short sentences, and video 2 will be longer sentences or paragraphs and passages. Before we get into the first question here, what I want to tell you guys is how I'm going to do it. We're going to listen to the recording, and then I'm going to explain a little bit about what was said. I'll give you some tips, maybe explain some of the words, tell you some of the vocabulary, and then we're going to play it again, and I want you to try to interpret it, right? I just gave you the answer, so you should be able to do it. Do it very loudly, check your pronunciation, okay? Don't be shy, it's anyway online, so get in a room, close the door, just say it loud, make sure, maybe record yourself. Then you can check your own pronunciation and compare it to mine. Okay, so let's get started with number 1.
Korean to English sentences. 1. 어쩌지요? 오전 내내 바쁩니다.
Okay, this is actually not that difficult of a sentence, right? 바쁩니다, busy, 내내 바쁩니다, always busy. But what I really want to bring your attention to is that first part. 어쩌지요? What does this mean in English? It means nothing. What does it mean in Korean? It means nothing, right? It's just something that you say. It's like in English when we say, oh, it's a very beautiful day, right? Just like that. So in English, we wouldn't translate this. However, what am I telling them? I'm giving this person probably some news that they don't want to hear, right? So when you're about to deliver some news that maybe the other person doesn't want to hear, we start with these phrases. I'm afraid, and then you go back to subject verb, or you say, I'm sorry to say, subject verb. This is really interesting because sorry we actually don't use a lot in business speaking or business writing or business English because it's too personal, right? It's a little bit too emotional for business English. But we're not saying sorry for doing something. I didn't make a mistake, right? It's just saying, well, you're sorry to say. 말하기가 미안한데, right? Or we can also use I'm afraid. So what are they sorry for, I guess? They say, I'm sorry to say that I am busy in the mornings. Now, I didn't say always in the morning or every morning. I just said in the mornings, plural. And you'll see this a lot more in business English than something like all mornings or every morning, okay? So let's listen to it one more time. Try to do the interpretation yourself, and then I'll just repeat a model answer at the end.
Korean to English sentences. 1. 어쩌지요? 오전 내내 바쁩니다.
Did you try it? Good job. So the answer, a model answer might be, I'm afraid I'm busy in the mornings, or I'm sorry to say I am unavailable in the mornings. All right, now let's listen to number 2.
2. 죄송하지만 화요일 약속을 변경해야겠는데요. 갑자기 일이 생겼어요.
Okay, so this one is kind of similar to the first one, right? We're delivering bad news. So right away you should think, I'm afraid or I'm sorry to say. That should be automatic, okay? Now, what are you afraid or what are you sorry to say? What is the main thing you want to say here? Because here, there's actually 2 things. They're saying 갑자기 일이 생겼어요, and also 약속을 변경해야 됩니다, right? But you have to think which one is the cause, which one is the effect, and which is the one that's more important. The change, right? Rescheduling the meeting or changing the meeting, okay? So that one should be at the very end, okay? Because you want to leave the person listening to it with that final statement, okay? And you want to give sort of the bad news first. The bad news to that person is what? 무슨 일이 생긴 거, okay? So you would say something like, I'm afraid due to a situation suddenly happening, right? 갑자기 생겨서, suddenly happening. And here, 일, I would use not work, but you can say something like situation or matter, or 급한 일 would be something like urgent matter. This is a good one as well. Oh, urgent matter. Okay, so a model answer would be something like, I'm afraid something suddenly came up. I will have to reschedule our Tuesday meeting. So let's take a listen. Now you try it, and then I'll say the model answer again.
2. 죄송하지만 화요일 약속을 변경해야겠는데요. 갑자기 일이 생겼어요.
Okay, so model answer could be something like, I'm afraid due to something coming up, I will have to change our Tuesday meeting. Okay, moving on to number 3. Let's take a listen.
3. 파커 씨와의 약속을 확인하려고 전화드렸습니다.
Okay, now what is the main verb here? 전화드렸습니다, right? They called. So why are they calling? 확인하기 위해서, right? 뭐를 하기 위해서. Remember, it's never going to be for verb. Okay? Never. I always see for verb ing. Whenever it's something 뭐를 하기 위해서, it always has to be the infinitive. To verb. Okay? Now here they said they want to 확인, confirm. Not check, confirm. 확인, 있는 거를 다시 확인한다. Right? So they're saying, I'm calling or I called to confirm 뭐를 확인하는 거야? 약속. What's 약속 in English? Well, I get a lot of different words. Sometimes students will say appointment. Okay, sometimes they say promise. But in this case, in this business English case, I think the correct word would be meeting. If you guys listened or took the translation program, I did do a little bit of explanation about all the different types of 약속, but I'll just do a quick one here. Appointment is when you're always receiving a service, right? So when you go to a doctor's office, doctor's appointment, dentist appointment. So you're paying for a service that this person is going to give you, that they're licensed to do, they're certified to do. Promise, now this, you can't really schedule it in a Google Calendar or on your calendar, okay? A promise, I think, is more of a 말 약속, all right? It comes from the heart, it's emotional, it's between, you and somebody else about something personal. So automatically, it's obviously not going to be this one, especially in business English. Now, meeting is the most common, right? This is the one when people get together in a business setting to discuss, to negotiate, right? Come up with new ideas, etc., etc. So I would use this one. So we're saying, I called to confirm my meeting with who? Mr. Parker. So you try to do it yourself. Let's take a listen.
3. 파커 씨와의 약속을 확인하려고 전화드렸습니다.
I called to confirm my meeting with Mr. Parker. That one should have been easy. Okay, so let's move on to number 4. Okay, let's listen first.
4. 약속은 10일 금요일 11시로 예정되어 있습니다.
Alright, so listen for the verb. The verb was what? 예정되어 있습니다. What? 약속. Again, we're talking about 약속. Okay, 예정되어 있습니다. Some students will say what? Predict. But predict here would not be correct, right? It's not a guess, all right? It means it's actually scheduled or it's set up. What is the 약속? The meeting is scheduled when? For Tuesday the 10th at 11 a.m. Now this one, when we talk about time, we can use at 11 a.m. or we could say at 11 in the morning. But we never use the two together, okay? Not at 11 a.m. in the morning. And in business English, we rarely use the words o'clock. It's just 11, just the number and then the time of the day, whether you write it like this or like that. So another way we could say it is, the meeting is set for Tuesday the 10th in the morning at 11. Okay, so let's try it. You try it. We'll play it one more time.
4. 약속은 10일 금요일 11시로 예정되어 있습니다.
So another model answer could be, the meeting is scheduled for Tuesday the 10th at 11 a.m. or in the morning at 11. Right, number 5.
5. 공항에 어떤 분이 마중 나오시는지 아시나요?
Okay, so this is a question. 아시나요? We should know. Do you know? Do you know what? 누구가 올 건지. Who? Now, is this talking about the future? Now? Or in the past? It's talking about in the future, right? So the future modal verb is will. Who will 공항에서, at the airport. Now, what should that verb be, do you think? Well, at the airport, it has to be, right? Who will be at the airport? Do you know who will be at the airport? Now, another way, though, we could say this, a little one step up is, who can I expect at the airport? Okay, so we can use this word expect means, you're gonna see them there. Sometimes we use the word expect. You can sometimes see this word, look forward to. Okay, the difference is, expect is that you're certain, right? You're almost 100% sure that this thing will happen. Whereas look forward to means you're just excited for something, right? So you look forward to the weekend. You look forward to the summer. But maybe after you take this interpretation program, you expect to be a better interpreter. So let's listen to the recording and then we'll have you try it.
5. 공항에 어떤 분이 마중 나오시는지 아시나요?
Okay, so you can say something like, do you know who I can expect at the airport? Number 6.
6. 약속 장소가 어딘지 확인할 수 있을까요?
So again, we have a question. So another thing that I want to point out, especially when you have a question, be very careful with your intonation. You want them to know it's a question, right? So it should definitely go up at the very end so they know that you're asking something, okay? Little things will make a difference when you're speaking. Okay, so what is the main verb here? 확인할 수 있을까요? Well, let's see this word again, 확인. So in business English, you're going to see a lot of the same words coming up. 약속, 확인. We've already seen it a couple times. We're only on number 6, right? So it says, 할 수 있을까요? 할 수 있을까요? This would be can, right? The ability to do something. The more formal way of saying can would be could. It's just a little bit more formal. Just like might, the more formal is may. Right? Just like want to would be would like to. Same thing. More formal, more formal, more formal than can. So since we're in business English, try to be a little more formal. So could, since you're asking a question, the subject and the verb switch, right? Could I do what? 하기, confirm what thing? 약속 장소. 어딘지, right? So 약속 장소, basically. The address of our meeting place or the address of the place we will meet. So let's take a listen.
6. 약속 장소가 어딘지 확인할 수 있을까요?
So could I confirm the address of our meeting place? Number 7.
7. 약속을 다음 주로 연기하면 어떨까요?
Okay, 어떨까요? Here, usually hear something like how about, right? But in business English, no, not how about. It just seems too casual, like you're suggesting something. 제안을 하는 거. But here, I think he's basically wanting this, right? They want to push it back to the next week, 다음 주로. So not how about, but just 할 수 있을까요? Again, could we? Could we do what? 연기 would be something like push back, delay, or the good word is postpone. All right? Delay and postpone actually are quite similar, but I think delay gives the feeling it's a little bit more negative, like it's late for some reason that was out of our control, right? So the plane was delayed, we see. The plane didn't purposely delay it, right? Maybe something went wrong or there was bad weather, so it got delayed. It's late. Whereas postpone, I feel like they're taking the choice, right? To just choose another day in the future, not because of something that went wrong. So we would like to use the word postpone here. So could we postpone what? 약속. meeting, right? But we don't have to use meeting here. Maybe it's not a meeting. Maybe it really is an appointment, or maybe it's a dinner, or maybe it's a party. So let's just use the general word it. Could we postpone it? Okay, 다음 주로. To, right? We're showing them a location or showing them where it's going. To 다음 주, next week. So let's listen.
7. 약속을 다음 주로 연기하면 어떨까요?
Could we postpone it to next week? Now let's move on to number 8.
8. 죄송하지만 9시 약속을 지키기 힘들 것 같습니다. 비행기를 놓쳤습니다.
Okay, so this one, again, we have two things happening. So you don't need to make two separate sentences. You should be able to combine it very smoothly. Now, what is the main point here? The main point here is 약속을 못 가, right? He can't make the 9 o'clock meeting. Why? Because 비행기를 놓쳤습니다. Because he missed the plane. Now, which one did I say is most important? 약속을 못 가. Say that at the end. Give the bad news first and then say your point at the end. It'll just make things sound a little bit softer. Okay, so we're giving bad news. When we have to give bad news, what do we start with? I'm afraid, or I'm sorry to say, what? 비행기를 놓쳤습니다. I missed my flight. I missed my flight. 그래서, so, 약속을 지킬 수 없습니다. Right? 힘들 것 같습니다. I think it will be hard. No. We want to be clear in business English. I will not make it to the 9 a.m. meeting, or I cannot be at the 9 a.m. meeting. So let's listen and try to put it together in your mind and say it out loud.
8. 죄송하지만 9시 약속을 지키기 힘들 것 같습니다. 비행기를 놓쳤습니다.
Okay, and so then a model answer would be something like, I'm afraid I missed the plane. Therefore, I will not be able to make it to the 9 a.m. meeting. Before I get into number 9 though, especially something like 8 and the one before when there's kind of two things happening, right? When you're listening, I know it's nerve-wracking and you just want to be able to get the words and out of your mouth as fast as possible. But if you start, you're going to do it wrong, right? You're going to put the 약속을 못 지킵니다 first, and then you're going to say, I missed my plane. You want to listen to it as a whole, okay? The point is getting the meaning across. The meaning was you're not going to make it to the meeting, so you should put that always last. Don't get nervous, relax, breathe. What is the point? And just say the point. You don't need to get every single word. It's not that important. So number 9, let's take a listen to this.
9. 급한 일로 며칠 동안 출장을 갔다 와야 합니다.
Okay, so this one I think is not too bad. Maybe just vocabulary. 출장, business trip. Simple. 급한 일로. This means because of. 때문에. Okay? So what is the main verb here? 출장을 갔다 와야 합니다. You don't have to say, I will be back, I will return. That's not the point. You're saying, I have to go. 가야 됩니다. Right? Not 갔다 와야 합니다. It's not so important. So, unfortunately, or you're giving bad news, I'm afraid to say, but another one, if we're getting tired, is unfortunately. Okay? Unfortunately, 급한 일로, due to an urgent situation, an urgent matter, or even an emergency, okay, due to, because of an emergency, I will be away or I will be on a business trip for a couple of days. Okay, so let's take a listen.
9. 급한 일로 며칠 동안 출장을 갔다 와야 합니다.
I'm sorry to say, an emergency, due to an emergency, or you could say an emergency has come up. I will be away or I will be on a business trip for a couple of days.